All right, this is Randalicious. Welcome to the 84th Hexis Podcast. It's been over 2.5 years since the last podcast that we've had. In that time, the previous 83 podcasts that we did, as well as the 3 highlight videos that we had, were all remastered. Check those out: YouTube, Twitch, Spotify. In that time, a little bit about me. I finished achieving 200 mil XP in all stats, and I've started to play certainly more casually than I did before. However, you can thank sailing for the return of the podcasts. The podcasts are going to be planned for release at least once a month moving forward. But depending on updates and news, we could be doing 2 a month, but the podcasts are back. If this is the first time that you're watching one of the Hexis podcasts during this reboot here, what we'd like to do is just talk about RuneScape related things like dev blogs, updates, like the future updates, things that are just happening in the community, and just anything and everything RuneScape related. So this and all the future podcasts are going to be available on YouTube's, Twitch, Spotify. If you'd like to submit a topic for the Hexis podcast, you can join our Discord server. It's discord.gg/Hexis. And we have a channel where you can submit a topic. If you submit a topic and we put it on the podcast, we'll give you a shout out for it. But get to it. Introductions. I'm Randalicious, and I'm the leader of Hexis.
Yo, I'm Plundering, rank 6 overall, or rank 6 level 3 skiller, and moderator in Hexis.
Hey, my name is Seb, also known as Schrodinger, and I have not prepared very much for this.
Yo, RSN Awenix, rank 60,641, and 3-star in Hexis.
My name is Mayfield. I am not in Hexis, and I am a level 3 Ultimate Iron Man because I am a masochist.
Hey, I'm Sebe, host of the Sebe cast and big Clue Scroll enthusiast.
All right, so talked about it briefly in the initial introductions, but we're going to starting off with sailing. So leading up to it, though, Jagex lowered the passing percentage of a poll from 75% to 70%. What did you think about them doing that? And when they did that, did you think that a new skill was going to be suggested or talked about?
To be honest, I think the poll change from 75 to 70 is like a really bad update because like RuneScape in a whole is getting like a little ridiculous at the moment. Like there's like too many updates, and making it 70% just makes like worse updates coming to the game. So in my opinion, it should be like 75, 80%, something like that. It's gonna be like better for the long term of the game. And the polygraph is 70%. Yeah, I kind of saw a new skill coming out with that, because every new skill was polled became like 74, 73%, 72. I was like always between that 70 and 75, so I kind of saw the new skill coming out, yeah.
I think the sailing from like 2016 had like 68%. I think that was actually the highest, but I mean,
now, didn't Shamanism get like 70 plus though?
Shamanism never made it to an official poll.
It was like 2% behind sailing in the initial poll between the 3.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think it was kind of a scumbag move by Jagex, not like not polling the 70%, because I mean that was kind of like, I feel like that should have been polled.
Do you think it would have passed the poll?
It would have passed.
I have no idea, but
That's actually a good. That would have been tough. And what would you pull it at? Still 75%? Or
yeah,
maybe at the first poll at 70.
That would be polled at 75%, obviously.
Yeah.
Like it would still need 75% to pass. Yeah.
Yeah, but they polled us asking if we want a new skill at all, and that one passed with about 80%. So, yeah, you can see it both ways. But yeah, I did kind of expect that they'd be pulling a new skill, and that it'd probably be a multiple choice between a few different ones, so that they'd have a higher chance of getting one in. And I think a lot of players assume that they only change the threshold in order to force a new skill in. And that could be true, but in my opinion, I found it weird that it was 75% in the first place, because pretty much every other pooling system in real life would have at most a 67% threshold, and usually, or sometimes even only a simple majority just requiring 51%.
Yeah,
So,
but 75 being a super majority, I think that's fine. So for me, like it's hard to not wear the like. It sounds like at what point does it go from a conspiracy to being a great prognosticator? Like, as soon as I saw that they had lowered it from 75 to 70, I was confident that a new skill was going to be pitched. And less than 2 months later, they have that little winter summit and they starts bringing up a new skill. So, I mean, I think it's a disgusting move. I feel like they knew that was probably the number that they would have needed to lower it to be able to get a skill to pass. More on that coming later. But, as soon as that change happened, I fully expected them to move forward with pitching a skill, and it took them less than 2 months to do it afterwards. So, I don't like it. There's a lot of really bad updates that have hit 70% that really never should have had any place in the game. That, the game has, up until that point of them changing it, is more than 9.5 years of that being a requirement for an update to come out. So fundamentally changing the way that updates come into the game is not something I like or appreciate. And, most things were already passing the poll anyway. So the idea that they're lowering it for just more generalized content to pass, I don't buy. It is fully with, not necessarily sailing, but doing what they can in preparation to get a new skill to pass. Because obviously, from an optics standpoint, there is no fucking way they are going to pitch a new skill and then before the lock-in poll for it comes, they say, oh yeah, by the way, we're going to lower it. So from a presentation standpoint, they made all the right moves in trying to get sailing or a new skill to have the best chance possible to pass. And I think they probably realized that lowering it any lower than 70 probably would have gotten even more distaste from the community. But couldn't be more disgusted.
Yeah, I think to continue on with the theoretical tinfoil hat theories is there's definitely a thought behind why they would change it so late in the life, and there's never been an issue with Jagex changing things after things have been released and the tried and true things have been tested. But I agree with Randy in the fact that they brought it at a very convenient time and then initially brought in a new skill. However, I do not think that a new skill is necessarily a bad thing. I just thought it was very strange that they pitched so many ideas and then they went with 3 that weren't even part of the initial ideas. Because I know they had talked about a few of the community skill pitches, but that's kind of getting a little off base there. If they were going to talk about a new skill, I thought maybe they would explore one of those other ones a little bit more and not just say, here's sailing. As far as everything else regarding polls, I think 70 is an okay measure. I would just like to see less, not game-breaking content, but less like intrusive content pulled, more quality of life updates or changes to certain things, as we saw with the Chambers of Xeric poll stuff. And that way, the community can actually decide together on what we want.
Yeah, I was actually in the call with Mod Aiza and a few other creators that were in the initial presentation of it. Was mainly directed by Aiza trying to get his points across that a 70% threshold would actually be better for the game going forward. And a lot of the reasons were just wasted dev time when they're trying. And this was talking about like the poll charter in general, just reworking how things even get into a poll and reworking the stages. And so I was in the call, and it was going to happen
When was
regardless. This was last year, like late last year.
Okay.
Like pretty much.
They did it in October. So
yeah, so it was a couple weeks before that.
Oh, okay, so it didn't surprise you when they actually did it.
No, I was prepared for it. But it seemed, at least to me, I was like, everything passes already. And at that point, I actually had a lot more trust in Jagex. Like that trust hasn't completely been obliterated by any means, but at that point, they did seem like they were being a lot more conscientious about certain updates. So I was, for the most part, fine with it, mainly because I knew there was not going to be any way to object to it, really. It's going to happen, so you might as well just embrace it. My concern, and I know there's going to be a question on this later, but it would be cool almost to have a poll that surveys how good an update was. So, for example, run a poll that doesn't really mean anything. It's not like it's going to have content deleted, but run a poll 6 months after some content has passed, and then show like a satisfaction rating kind of thing. And just so we can have like an almost like post update survey that everyone can see that, like, okay, was this update actually good in the game? Is this what you wanted? Is this what you expected? Is this bad for the game? Like something like that would be really cool to see. And I don't think it's worth their time necessarily, because the vast majority of the player base doesn't really care. Like you could release literally any garbage into this game and people would be happy. Like at this point we could. It's dangerous.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cringe. Like it seems like every couple of years, like from a business perspective, they have like some massive update that they release, like mobile or some shit to really boost memberships. And I wonder if like they were kind of out of ideas for how to boost them through like things like mobile or like new game modes. So they're like, well, we can't risk this failing for like profit increase this year, coming up. So like, let's just nuke the pass rate. But yeah, very cringe.
Yeah. So, Sebia, when you talked about them saying the impact that it would have on dev time, see, like, I would be more apt to buying that as an excuse if they didn't have 70 fucking people on the team. Like, they have so many more people on the team now than what they did when they initially pulled Artisan, when they initially pulled Sailing the first time, and then even when they had Warding. They have so many people developing that, like, they could fully, like, say Sailing, for example, they could fully develop it, put it to a poll, and then, like, it could fail, and, like, there's no shortage of updates. They have so many different, like, essentially teams that are working on projects and shit like that. Like you had like the team that did forestry, which they got a lot too that they need to improve on. You had a different team that was working on Desert Treasure 2. They did spectacular. And then you've got this other team that's working on Sailing. So, this fictitious idea of wasted dev time, it doesn't really impact the, like in 2015, 2016, shit, even 2018, when they had, I think they have like more than 70 people on the staff right now. Like, we're talking about like when they initially first pulled a skill, they had less than 10. So, the percentage of like if they would, 5 years ago have pulled a skill and done a whole lot of development for it prior to release, and then it fails, oh yeah, like that would significantly impact the flow of content and everything coming out in the game. But with them having so many devs and so many different teams working on these different projects, like one update not passing doesn't really hurt their flow of content, and I just refuse to buy that as a valid reason on their part as to why that would be the thing. I'm with you partially on the tinfoil hat conspiracy that this was really just more guaranteed, not like a total guarantee, but just more guaranteed that a skill will pass, because they probably have a bunch of analytics saying if we get a new skill into this game, it's going to just massively pump up our numbers.
because
Yeah,
people are going to come in. So like no matter like however we can get that to happen, let's do it. And to be honest, like the 70, they changed a bunch of things to their poll charter. So I think the 75 to 70% was just kind of snuck in and seen as like, oh, this is all overall a good thing. So, but they kind of slid it in where it's like that wasn't really necessary. But
yeah. I mean, they absolutely with the tens of millions of dollars they make every year, they've got data teams. They knew kind of the buffer area that they needed to lower that threshold down to in good faith be able to try to get it to happen. So
yeah,
couldn't hate it anymore. But moving on though, of the 3 skills that the team like eventually moved forward with to pull for us, it was sailing, shamanism, and taming. Of those 3, which one did you guys like best, or did you dislike all the options? How did you vote in the poll that they had when they were gathering feedback as to which one of those 3 skills should go into further refinement?
Personally, I prefer sailing over the other skills. I just think the like possibilities they could do with sailing. I mean, there's a lot of like area, like a lot of water, like a lot of islands. They could like there's like infinite content they can make with sailing if they do it well. So I still think sailing is the best out of these 3, but I don't know much about shamanism, taming, and all those other ones. And I do see potential of sailing too. I mean, it's gonna be like a lot of variety. Kind of reminds me of Slayer a bit, which is like the most loved skill in the game. So I'd have high hopes, but it might actually be really good. Who knows? And personally, I didn't actually vote at all because I was just unsure if I wanted sailing or not. So I decided not to vote. But yeah, I can definitely see it being good potential. I don't like the fact that it's gonna be like very multi-skilling of a skill. It's kind of what I heard. It's gonna be like a bank on the boat. So you can do like herbler as you're sailing, and then once you actually get to an island, you do like hunter or fishing. It's just gonna be a bunch of skills in one skill.
I mean, we'll kind of see what the actual methods are going to be, because they have these some methods that they kind of define as being tertiary, which have multi-skilling aspects of it, but it would be very minor in scope.
Overall, it's just like reminds me a lot of Slayer, and Slayer's fun, so maybe this will be fun too.
Yeah, I didn't like any of them at all. Like I think if I had to pick one, maybe shamanism, but that seemed like pretty busted with like imbuing items and just getting fucking bonus XP on everything you do. That seemed pretty cringe too. But sailing, I think it has some potential to be good. Like Seb was saying, like hopefully they just don't make it like the meta to be multi-skilling. So make sure to finish off the good skills with the best methods while you can. But yeah, I don't know. I really didn't like taming. I think that was probably my least favorite. I think one of the J mods on one of the not podcasts, but like announcements or whatever, like interviews that they did, like called it summoning like 10 times in it himself. So that was pretty funny.
yeah, I would. I was initially actually team taming for like the first day. And then I actually saw their sort of pitch, like their presentation on what taming would be. And it was just the most boring pitch I'd ever seen because they really didn't know where the vision lied. Like they didn't want anything to do with summoning. And so like you're basically training these little pocket pets that don't actually have any functionality throughout the game.
Yeah.
So that was strange. And that completely made me change my mind. And I went team sailing afterward. And I'm still excited for sailing. That was definitely, in my opinion, the best of the 3. And I think there could still be a lot of good that comes from sailing. And I personally voted no to it. I was kind of wishy-washy up like the week leading up to the poll. And the only reason I voted no really is not because I don't want sailing to ever come into the game. I just don't feel like skilling's in a good spot right now. And we got to address like other concerns before we just release another skill. I mean, there is seriously like a hatred for skilling right now. And yet there is a huge love for just a random new skill coming into the game. So I sort of understand it. Sailing's new and it's probably just going to be a way more revamped version of any skill we've seen in the past, but it still concerns me. So, but I'm looking forward to seeing what the team can do.
Yeah, so I preferred shamanism out of the three options, and that was mostly due to their proposal of combining both the gathering and production aspects. And I also love the idea of the spirit realm. And yeah, the gear augmentation was a worrying reward space proposal, but I don't really participate in much combat related content. So that wouldn't really have affected me as much as it would have affected others. And I thought they could even extend that idea of augmentation to skilling tools, but instead of increasing XP or gathering rates, they could have given it additional resources and maybe even noted resources to minimize the amount of banking required. And then that could potentially make skilling a more viable way of gathering resources rather than the current meta where the vast majority of resources are obtained from PVM. And yeah, so I voted for shamanism in the initial poll and ended up voting no to the sailing lock-in poll, mostly because of the fact that they kind of buried that question in the middle of the poll.
I got a topic about that later.
Yeah, and I would have liked to see, like a bare bones beta test so that we could kind of get a feel for it. But yeah, that didn't happen. So yeah, I did vote no on that lock-in poll, but I'm not upset about it passing. I think there's a lot of potential.
I am a fellow shamanism enjoyer, and my reason is, for lack of better terminology, kind of cringe. And that is because shamanism reminded me the most of one of my favorite RS3 skills, invention. And I think shamanism would have done a lot of great for the economy in bringing in, or not bringing in, sorry, but reusing resources we already have in the game. And that was to repurpose them as things that would help you augment your weapons, armor, tools, and augmentations only exist as a form to raise the tier of a smaller weapon by a little bit more. So, say you're a mid-game Iron Man and you don't have Trident yet. Obviously, they released a new thing that recently, but you could augment your Ibans to make it a tier 55 now, give it a little bit extra punch for your Zulrah Diary kill or whatever else you're using it for when you're killing cave krakens. So I did vote shamanism. In the most recent sailing lock-in poll, I did not vote, simply because I forgot. And I didn't realize that question was in the poll when I was reading the questions. So I kind of just skipped over this last one that we had.
Hilarious.
Yeah, so when I saw the three of them go forward, like those were the three that were announced, I without reading anything on it, I already knew that sailing, or I shouldn't say no, I thought that, and I was confident that sailing was going to be the one that ended up getting chosen. Shamanism is just a terrible name for a skill. It really is.
It is.
Had they had literally any other name besides shamanism, I think that probably would have been the one that would have ended up passing. It did appear that was definitely going to be the most impactful of the three potentially. Taming seemed just like a shit addition to what's already the followerscape that we have. I was pretty certain that sailing was going to be the one that moved forward, so I was very stunned that shamanism was as close as it was to sailing in terms of what they thought. So that kind of makes me feel like, and again, because I talked to other people, like any other name besides shamanism, and it probably ends up beating sailing.
If they would have called it Spirit, I think that alone would have made it pass. Like a skill called Spirit sounds pretty dope in my opinion.
Sounds much better than shamanism.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
But yeah, I was very unimpressed with taming as an definitely seemed like a tier or two below the others to me. Like it didn't really seem like it had much to offer in comparison to the other ones for what they had in mind. So I can't believe that was, they couldn't have found a third different one that was of equal or better quality. But I ended up voting no on everything every time, on 15 accounts every time, because I don't like it. I don't want it.
Gotta respect the dedication.
So to follow up on what Mayfield was saying about the invention skill, I haven't played RS3 since like the week that Old School was released, but did you say that the augmentation stuff didn't affect like the highest tier equipment?
So I don't want to go too much into RS3 stuff, but the basics behind invention is you can augment it with different things. So you can give yourself like ring of wealth effects on your armor, or different types of effects like that on your armor. And then you can also augment like your skilling tools to make them a little bit more efficient. And like training invention was basically training other skills with that upgraded version, disassembling it, making a new one, repeat.
Gotcha. I guess what I was saying is they could have gone a much better way in OSRS by actually giving it to like, instead of making something like a tier 50, like it's a tier 53 now with the augmentations. That way it's a little bit under 60, right? But it still gives you the, the thought that you have a little bit of an upgrade before you can, do something else. Yeah, I was just wondering because, like, if they made it so that you could only augment like non-best in slot equipment, I think that would be pretty healthy and wouldn't upset too many players. So yeah,
Definitely.
that could have been an option.
Yeah,
it's actually a really good idea.
That's crazy.
It'd be good if they could if they were to make imbues for items, like skilling items too, then it could just like apply to like shitty like pre-99 rates or something to help the more casual players max quicker but not actually affect like end game.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so we had a submitted question from Clotho, and it's if you could add or change one thing about Jagex's polling charter, what would it be?
Simply tighten it up. I think some of the polls get too big, too long. And how many people actually read entire dev blogs? Of course, you've got videos out there like Sebe does, where it like kind of, he talks about it, and those are great. And I know they did the audio thing for the most recent one.
That was a good touch.
But they need to tighten up these polls. Like, I don't want 20 questions. I want 5 like really well thought out things. And that's kind of
real quick.
Yeah.
Would you say your attention span kind of gets lost after 5 questions?
Yeah, after 5 and 7, I'm just like,
all right. I'll come back to that later.
Yeah, I'm just like, cause after 5 or 7, I'm just like, okay, and I kind of half-ass read the rest of them. But like in the beginning, I'm outside at work having my smoke break. I'm reading the dev blog. I'm about finished with my cigarette, and I'm like, well, I don't got time to finish this now. So then at that point, that's when I'm kind of trailing off. But that's how I think it could be fixed, is just tighten it up.
Yeah, I don't know really. I sort of agree with Mayfield, I suppose. I mean, like once you go through like the half of the questions, you start like autopiloting, and you're like, let's just vote yes, vote no, vote yes. You like don't read through all the questions thoroughly. But honestly, I don't really know how you would change it. 75%. Bring back 75%.
Yeah.
Yeah, my main concern generally is just I don't know. I don't know what the player base really wants. It would be interesting to see almost a poll or a survey that's just surveying what the average player actually wants in this game, because I feel like people are okay with the game becoming like an idle simulator at this point. Like they really see they don't see what the core identity of this game really is, and so we just have very competing views of like what's healthy for the game. This is my own opinion. So, and I've talked to JMods and I've talked to players. And I mean, this wasn't my idea by any means, but I remember hearing it of like almost having, like not representatives. It was another term for it, but just
skilling council.
A skill. Yes, that was it. It was like a council. It was like having the PvP council, and there could be different branches off of that.
Back, I think in 2015 or 2016, they had some preliminary talks on introducing that.
Yes, that and I'm not claiming to know how you implement that at all, but something with a council where it's like you have trusted players that know a lot and are looking out for the best interests of the game. And this doesn't mean to have a bunch of purists or elitists on. It's just have a variety of people that truly care.
You do need purists.
You do need both. No. You need people that are not going to be dogmatic about their beliefs,
right?
And they have to be able to sway their opinion. So if you just have one guy that's like, this is how I see the game and nobody can ever sway me because this is it, like, we can't have people that are just completely closed-minded. We need open-minded people, but we still need views from all sides of whatever their views are on the game. And yeah, I think that would be cool to kind of have councils for a lot of different things like PvP and PVM and skilling, and they could obviously collide with one another and we could have different arguments, and then even like have sort of like mini debates that are published and people can make up their own minds. But just having something where really well trusted players and well respected players can have discussions about what would actually be good for the game, rather than it just being the team on any given week just say, okay, like this seems cool, right? All right, 70% said yes. All right, it's in the game. Like, I don't know, it's concerning.
I just thought of something. Like, what do you guys think of like having more requirements to polls? Like, let's say like a specific total level or something.
I mean, had they removed like on the sailing thing, if they would have just made it a 1200 total level requirement, sailing would have failed. Even the lower standard, like, we'll talk more about on the next question. But yeah, I mean, the newer someone is, the more likely they are going to be to quit. The lower their total level is, the more likely they are going to be to quit. The lower their total level is, the more likely they're going to vote yes to any update of any kind. But no, yeah, if I could add one, like, I would add a bunch of different things. I would move it back to 75%. I would add at least a total level requirement. I kind of like some of the things that they did with like PKing, in that like you needed to like there is like PvP related polls that were restricted to PvPers. Like I'm okay with that. I may not have been before, but as I see it, I'm okay with it. The skilling things, as you see,
do you mind if I interject something quick?
Go ahead.
With that PvP poll stuff, it also kind of, if you did LMS, so I'm a level 3 and I did LMS for my looting bags, and they still allowed me to vote in that poll. Just a little sidebar on that one.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, I'm okay with polls being restricted. And I do think that at least having they use 1200 as their medium threshold. I think that even having a 1000 total level requirement is not a hard ask to have people voting in the poll. So I would increase the total level requirement. I would increase the poll passing percentage. And going back, Sebe, to your thing about the council stuff, where you said you don't want to close-minded people. You do need, here's the thing, you do need closed-minded people on it, because you do need to have a dissenting opinion that can offer insight and a view as to why something could be problematic, as opposed to having a bunch of people looking at it from a more optimistic way with a much more open mind as to why something could or should come. And I think that having a balance of both is important, because yeah, you should have people trying to look to see what is the best case scenario for this update coming to the game, and how would the game and the player base benefit from it. You also need people who have a lot of experience and can say, hey, here, if this happens, or if this update comes, here would be some of the problems that would happen. It would impact this, it would impact this, it could potentially impact that, and it would be a negative update as a result. So
yeah, that's really important, is actually listing pros and cons of further game impact. That is never talked about. Like that, maybe in the team it's talked about, but they never publish any of that. Like, so we're out of the loop.
Yeah.
And I feel like if there was real transparency about, okay, like this actually could very negatively impact the game in this reason years down the line, or, you know, whatever, that would be really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, Randy, Randy, you kind of like, honestly, I was gonna say basically all of what you said. Like, that's exactly what I was gonna say, is like higher recs for different questions and shit like that. Like, I know, like, don't they do that with irons too, where like irons can only vote on Iron Man related questions or some shit like that. Like, I think that would be good. And then, I mean, don't they have like Hebox Yang on some sort of like sailing discussion thing? Like, I think that's kind of like a good step, or maybe they did or something like that.
Yeah,
like,
he's a part of like
shit.
Yeah, he was a part of I think like the initial talks and like some of the creators. I don't know who all was a part of it, but when I chatted with him, he definitely talked about that quite a bit.
Yeah, things like that, definitely good idea. Hopefully they like continue to do that sort of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
so
go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with having some sort of requirements. The total level thing could be an option, but for like restricted builds like myself, they could have some sort of total XP or quest point requirements.
You choose to limit yourself.
Yeah, but like,
what's your total level though? It's like 1,500.
Yeah,
so
almost
like
16.
So I think that 1,000 is pretty reasonable. Like, base 40 as a requirement. I don't think.
Hey, I mean, the restricted accounts, they may not do the content anyway because they're restricted, right?
Well,
so I think it's fine.
Yeah, I think total XP or time played could also be some metrics. Like they could have a combination, or like if you have like 1,500 total or something, then you're automatically eligible. And if you have a combination of some other lower requirements, then you're also eligible. Yeah, I think that could help. And I'd also like if they could be more consistent with their charter. Like in the recent Poll 80 blog, they initially wanted to pull a fix to the coding mishap that caused the Pharaoh's Scepter to have a lower chance of receiving after Room 5. And that's like kind of a bug. And that was one of the things that they said they wouldn't be pulling. And some people called them out on it, and they ended up removing it from that poll and implemented that anyway. So yeah, more consistency, and I'd also like if they could be more clear with their poll questions, as they tend to be pretty vague and don't provide some necessary information.
Oh, and yeah, Plundering, are you done? I was going to add one more thing to what I was going to say. Oh, I guess, yeah, probably done. I was going to say another thing. I think it's kind of like what Sebe was saying with the like follow-up polls would be, yeah, something like that, where they actually follow up with the poll questions and like ask how they like if they lined up with like what people expected, because that would have been huge, like with past updates where they pull something at certain rates and it comes in and it's nowhere near the effort or the rates pulled, and they're just like, well, fuck it, like we'll just keep it in the game, I guess. But like if they did like some sort of follow-up poll, like, you know, just to make sure that it's like what was pulled on actually came into the game, I think that'd be really good.
Yeah, I agree with that.
All right, so many players expressed distaste with how the team handled the polling. Or sorry, many players expressed distaste with the team for hiding the most important polling question in old school RuneScape history as the 6th question of a 12-question poll. The first 5 questions were all about Varlamore, but many players as well do not think that sailing should have been pulled yet, given the roadmap that they gave during the Summer Summit, and that it's not expected to be released until late 2024, with everything else that was on the Summer Summit is things that are supposed to be coming in the next like 4 or 5 months or so. So with how far away it is, people didn't think that it should be pulled either. What are your overall thoughts on the aspects of how sailing was pulled?
So I definitely think it wasn't the ideal way they went about it, but yeah, I would have preferred a separate poll with the only question being the lock-in vote for sailing. And regarding the expected sailing release timeline, I don't necessarily think it was too early, but because now they don't have to worry too much about wasting a massive amount of dev time on something that could potentially fail. And they also say that they'll continue to gather feedback and through the polls and surveys and on the more intricate details of the skill, such as like training methods, XP rates, and rewards. And they also stated that they especially want feedback from the no voters so that they can make sure as many players as possible are satisfied before the skill launches. And that all that combined with seeing how passionate the devs working on the skill are, that makes me pretty hopeful that the new skill will be a net positive. So yeah.
So I couldn't given enough negative criticism about the way that they handled the polling of it. I am one of the players that really hated that it was hidden as the 6th poll. You heard Mayfield talking about how he reads 5 questions and then just goes into autopilot. That's the shit that I'm talking about. This is the most important poll in RuneScape history, and they lumped it in with a bunch of other content that, you know, ended up getting I mean, I'll tell you this, with the idea of them pushing to have Sailing Pass, they could not have handled this much better with that as the agenda in mind. They played it perfectly. They really did. Like, from a what can we do to get sailing to pass, they did everything in their power, including lowering the percentage to be able to get it to happen. So from from their point of view, it's a result based goal, and they were able to achieve that. But yeah, it absolutely should not have been behind 5 fucking Varlamore questions. It is the most important poll in the 10.5 years of the game's history. It should have had a poll on its own. And yeah, lumping it when it's not coming out for about a year or so, putting it in a group of a whole bunch of other things that are going to be coming soon, as opposed to something that's coming out. They did everything that they could to, you know, get it to pass. I mean, I'm not gonna go super conspiracy and say that they had something in play, like, because I'll tell you what, like, it's one thing like when I have people that have like the same viewpoint as me, but then it's like they've got an even more extreme view of it, and even I'm like, whoa, I won't go there. But it's an example of that would be, yeah, like putting it 6th in the poll because they've studied the pass rate on polls, that they've had someone go and look and study to see placing it here or there, what gives it the statistically the best chance of polling or passing the poll. That's pretty heavy conspiracy stuff that even I won't buy into. But I like it. It's a multi-million-dollar, like it would almost, like, with that being, you know, kind of the agenda that, you know, I just putting it 6th on the poll, hiding it in the middle, so bad. And then yeah, I certainly don't think it was ready to be pulled. This idea of, again, wasted dev time, there's so many developers that this is not delay. Like, when they had so few developers before, it would be catastrophic if they put thousands of hours of development time into something and then it failed. Right now, doesn't fucking matter with the dozens of people that they have that work on the game.
Yeah, I think I take a lot of sentiment from, you know, things that have already been said, and that's like, you know, hiding it in between this, having sailing have its own poll, which would have been fantastic. I also agree, you know, that it should not have been in this specific poll. I understand why they did it. like we talked about with the tinfoil hat, if they're trying to push this, then they succeeded. But also getting it out early enough so that they are having enough time to really polish and refine it for us, so that way it's not this super broken skill on release, and that way there are viable methods and there are nothing that's going to break anything else, which inevitably will happen, as we've seen with so many other updates. Things on release will be broken. People will be getting busted XP rates. We'll be seeing, the race for 200 mil climbing. Obviously, that's a later topic. But as far as the overall aspect on how sailing was pulled, it was gone about in the incorrect way. I don't mind that it was done early, but it should have been its own thing, or with other questions relating to sailing or something else in the same vein, not lumped in with the Hunter Guild, Varlamore, the new area expansion on Zaya, and all that kind of stuff. Because sailing is just so much more than just Zaya.
Yeah, I think it's kind of insane that they did that. I mean, especially like the way they like the lead up to sailing was like just I absolutely thought there was going to be like, all right, here today's the day, like one question poll. Do we want sailing? And then to see it as like number 6, and then their reasoning was like, well, we wanted to give attention to this other content, like because we already knew sailing was in there or whatever the hell they said. Like, made no sense at all. And yeah, it almost makes you wonder if they like were under some pressure to like hit some sort of, I don't know, revenue stream in a couple of years, or I don't know. It's just like, why the hell would they? Why did they have to try so hard to get it into the game? It just doesn't make sense to me.
To be honest, I just have no idea what to say on this question.
All right. Well,
Yeah, I don't really have any opinion. I'm not bothered the fact that it was in another poll. I mean, yeah, optimally it should have just been its own question, but I don't feel like that really affected anything. And yeah, they were gonna
though.
Yeah. Well, like I'll admit, like yes, it would have been cleaner to just have one question as the poll. But yeah, I'm not too bothered.
I mean,
I don't know if it affected anything, but
it absolutely affected stuff. But like, I'm not gonna sit here and say like, so okay, with it getting 71.9% of the vote, I think it's entirely on the board that like, had they not manipulated the polling results by lowering the passing threshold, and had they not manipulated the poll itself by hiding it in the middle of the poll, I think that it like probably like, obviously it failed the 75. Had they gone about it in the way that they had every other previous big update before, and it obviously would have failed to hit the 75, but I think they would have, the feedback probably would have been right around in this 70 to 72 range. I don't find it impossible that this wouldn't have gotten 75. Like, had they made some refinement and some further changes to it, I think that sailing probably would have eventually got 75. I'd say I'm kind of a little disappointed that it passes. Like, had it passed 75.1%, or like, I'd just been like, all right, well, tough. But I mean, it's just like every negative thought that I have had about the process, even going months before it even happened, came to fruition. So
yeah, no, I mean, I will also concede like your point of this really is the biggest poll in probably all of old school history. So it would make sense for it to be its own poll with one question on it. Should sailing be implemented in the game? I totally agree with you on that. I just don't think that would have necessarily affected anything. Like the results.
I think.
It would have. I mean, obviously,
it still hits that 70, but like, I mean, I've just got an awful, feel on how it was handled.
Yeah. Okay.
But all right, so we got a submitted question from Sebi. Do you think sailing will affect the HLC skilling in a positive or negative way?
I think both in a sense. Now, just like I'm not just purely a skiller by any means whatsoever, but I do think that sailing will have a lot of variety to it, which means like I think there will be some like really high effort methods, probably some team organization as well. Like you'll probably need teams to get best rates, which I know a lot of high level skillers aren't huge fans of, having to find teams. They would rather just do their own thing. And I feel like that'll be one of the negatives for a lot of players that like really want to go beyond 99. But I think the positives is that it's just going to be so much different than every other skill. It's going to be it's not a gathering skill or a buyable, but it's one of those what I consider to be like neutral, which is like agility and thieving. They're like not really buyables or gathering. And I think sailing is going to be in like that neutral zone where it's just really, I don't know, it's just completely different than what we've seen. So I think there's going to be a lot of fun to it. But yeah, I think the team aspect of probably getting higher XP rates in teams the whole way through is going to be sort of seen as a negative.
Drafty vibes. I think it's kind of interesting, this question. Like, this is kind of why I submitted it, because I think there's a lot of pros and cons for this one. Like, if we start with like high scores, for example, right? Like, we're getting a new high scores.
Hold on. We got a question about the high scores in a bit. We'll go more in depth on.
Aye, sure. I mean, it's kind of high scores I want to bring up though, but
Okay, so I think it's too early to tell at this point if it's going to be positive or negative. And it really depends on the methods that they plan on including with the initial release of the skill. I think it was JMod Elena who said that depending on the complexity and balancing of the methods, it would be more likely that the multi-skilling methods would not be available on release. And in my opinion, making those multi-skilling methods have a delayed release would be way better so that the players would be able to enjoy the skill in its own right and that they could then expand sailing to involve the other skills based off of the actual XP rates that players are achieving. Because, they're not always very accurate with their proposed and expected XP rates, so knowing what players are actually getting would help them adjust the ratio of bonus XP from other skills and that kind of stuff.
So I think that it'll have a negative impact on it, and part of that comes from like seeing the polling results that we had like in Hexis. We had like collectively we had like 160 some votes, and it was like 87-ish% that were hold on, let me find our channel here. So yeah, we had 159 votes across multiple accounts in the clan, and we had 87% of people said no, 12% of people said yes, and less than 1% skipped the question. So I mean, just looking at it from that aspect, it's not the content that people want. Looking at the results of like when you were able to see with the voting patterns at the threshold of levels that people had, the more experienced someone is, the less likely it is that they wanted a skill. And so this is something that we generally as a whole did not want. And even going like as far as like the maxed players, like even that was like the maxed players were even much further below the 70%. It was they released some stat, it was like 52% or something like that of maxed accounts that voted yes, which that's obviously a terrible percentage. But I think that being said, there's going to be a lot of positives. One of the positives is the return of the Hexis podcast. So that's one positive on the HLC. Another positive is going to be, I can certainly see, like for us, like once sailing comes out, we have competitions every couple months. I can assure you we're going to have a competition every single month that, for like the first 6 months or so that sailing's out. It'll definitely increase the amount of time that people are playing. It's going to increase a lot of hype. If it's a skill-based thing, it's going to build further camaraderie between the friends and clan members and things like that. You could definitely even see that fantasy EHP would be back on the board and coming back as well. So like there's a lot of things that could potentially be beneficial, but that's more theoretical rather than things that like people have expressed as being something. This is just something we don't want.
Randy, your first point was you kind of cut off. Your mic did. So could you repeat that?
I was talking for a bit. What was I talking about almost before it cut off?
I think we heard it. I mean,
the first point.
Yeah, I thought I heard everything, but
I think it's going to be overall generally negative. But like there are some elements of it that are certainly going to be positive, but I think it's generally going to be pretty negative. Most of the people in the clan, like 87% of the people in the clan that voted no. So it's not content that we want, and I just think it's going to be generally negative, and that's excluding all of the other reasons like high scores related that's going to have.
Oh, and I also wanted to jump in on the max players having a lower pass percentage thing. And I think it's like a common misconception that max players vote no because they don't want to train a new skill. And that just seems wrong to me because, max players, they trained all of the skills. They're going to train whatever new skill there's going to be. Like, they're the ones who are dedicated to, maxing out their accounts. So I don't think that just because a new skill is released that they're going to be upset because they want to max. It's not like they maxed against their will.
Yeah. Played the game for thousands of hours. They might have an idea on what's good for the game or not.
Yeah, that as well.
As far as the effects go, I think the biggest thing will be the multi-skilling factor. Obviously, this won't matter too much for the people who already have 200 mil all or are max and don't care about post XP, but I can see this really affecting the race to 200 mil as far as just sailing for everybody on the new high scores. I know we'll talk about that later. But if you already have 200 mil all, it's a negative for sure because you're going to be getting multiple experience for different skills through it. And as far as like a newer player or newer irons or hardcore, whatever game mode you want to play, as far as that 200 mil all goal, not many. I think there's only Iron Hiker has 200 mil all on irons, right?
yep.
Yeah.
So, the race for rank 2 in irons might change a ton with sailing, noting that like if you finish sailing first, you're going to get maybe 10 mil hunter, you're going to get 5 mil slayer, you're going to get 30 mil fishing, and so on and so forth. So it's going to be, I could definitely see it affecting it very negatively in that way, or depending on how you look at it, positively for those players because now you don't have to sink as many hours into the tournament grind because of the multi-skilling aspect of sailing coming out.
yeah, I mean, I think it'll be pretty negative, but I mean, I have hope that they do a good job with it. Like they seem like they're really passionate about it. So hopefully that's not just like faking it to get it to pass. Like hopefully they're actually excited because as long as it's not like, I'm super against multi-skilling methods, even if they're like really fun. Like I hate the concept of being forced to do that style of training unless or otherwise you feel like you're just trolling your account. So hopefully it's positive, but I think like all three skills, like the way they introduced them is kind of negative though, because they were like saying like, oh yeah, well if sailing doesn't pass or if your favorite skill didn't pass this time, it might pass next time. So I think one of these skills is definitely bound to be very negative, even if sailing doesn't like wreck everything.
All right, so next we had a submitted question from Rhino, and that is assuming that account sharing is closely monitored and out of the picture in the race for 200 mil all, who are your top 5 over? Who do you think will be the top 5 to re-complete 200 mil all, whether that be in Hexis or in the game?
I have a question about this one, by the way.
Yeah.
So what if you're the first to get 200 sailing, but not 200 all? Would that count?
I mean, you can take the question however you want. Like, well, I mean, you're gonna be 200 mil all before us, but what?
Yeah, no, I'm just thinking like some like random guy could get it, right? It's
Oh
not
yeah,
so-
100%. That's what
yeah.
I personally think. Yeah, there's gonna be a random that gets 200 mil sailing first.
I would be stunned if it's someone that I've never heard of.
I don't know, man. There's some crazy people out there now, and they would love to secure a rank 1. And like, you just have such a larger pool. I know, like the 200 mil all players definitely are proven gamers, but there's a lot of people out there.
Yeah. So, I don't, unfortunately, and I think this is one of the biggest reasons as to why I continue to vote no and will continue to kind of not support sailing, is that I don't believe that account sharing will be closely monitored, and I don't think it'll be out of the picture. I would be shocked if one of the people who are going to be reobtaining 200 mil all, I would be stunned if any one of the first 3 people did it legitimately and on their own. Because obviously now, whereas like 200 mil all is much more so of a marathon, and we even saw people that got 200 mil all that account shared on their way to getting 200 mil all on a marathon. You know, condensing it down to just one skill, that's a sprint, and like, so I don't think that the first 3 people to get it, even like, I'll be surprised if it's legitimate. But I mean, obviously, you know, a couple names you could watch for. It's going to be legitimate ones is going to be like Rodney, Fast LT. I think even Iron Higer. I think that they could potentially pop. Like even Enjoys, like if, Enjoys would have a real great chance as well. I would love to see what they'd be, collectively all capable of doing. Because I mean, like I imagine that whoever it is that's going to get rank 1 is probably going to be playing about 100. Like they're the accounts are going to be logged in about 140 hours a week. So like 20 hours a day would probably be what I'd imagine until completion. So yeah, I mean, I'm not going with 5. I'm going to go with 3, and it would be like Fast LT, Rodney, and Enjoys. In terms of Hexis, on who I think the top 5 in Hexis would be, and I'll just kind of put the Hexis one as just to 200 mil. I think that Enjoys would be first. I think that I would be second. Dan would be third. Sebi, no, you know what, Sebi, I'm putting you at 3, Dan at 4. I want to motivate him a little bit, so I'll put him at 4.
I'll be to give that.
He will not be able to live you down beating him there, but and then I mean 200 mil all. I could definitely see be strong. I've like be strong, plundering, Enjoys. I think could be like, if it's just a 200 mil, I think that they would be on that first bit in the clan.
Yeah, so in no particular order, Rodney Farva, Hibox Younge, and Enjoys if he wants it enough. He kind of plays on and off, but when he's on, he's really on. So if he wants it, he'll get it. And Iron Higer and DHKO, depending on how viable it is for Ironman to train it or compete. And yeah, I would also really love to see Lynx Titan come back, but that
And a
doesn't seem
chance.
like.
Nah.
Yeah, that doesn't seem likely.
He mentally wouldn't be able to get back into it.
I think he would be able to if he wanted to, but it seems like he's just moved on. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think Hebox has a great chance of being in the top 5, mainly because now I think he's supported by the game, so he really doesn't need to have any IRL obligations. He's mentioned that he doesn't play like an unhealthy amount per day, so he's more of a marathoner for sure. But I think he does have a chance if he wants it. I also think Vior or Bailey could have a really good shot at going for it if they drop everything and go for it.
That addresses the first point of the question.
Yeah.
Sorry, my bad. Continue.
Anyway, but yeah, no. So we'll see what happens. But I also think, you mentioned Iron Higer and DK. I think they won't get top 5 because I think playing in Iron they'll have a severe disadvantage, generally speaking. But I am really looking forward to the race of DK versus Iron Higer, because DK is getting really close to 200 mil all, and he'll be 200 mil all probably before Sailing's released.
Yeah, because I mean, he keeps popping off like 90. He's had like.
I mean, he's ranked 2 Iron Man right now.
Yeah, and he's had like a couple 5K years. So like,
yeah,
he's been playing 100 hours a week for years in a row.
And if he already has, like, if he's just getting off of just having completed 200 mil all, I think when Sailing releases, he's going to have so much more fire than Iron Higer will.
How many more hours has he got left to finish?
I'm not sure of the hours, but he's really close.
I'll just assume he's within, like, is he within like 3K?
Yeah.
Okay, so he'll get it done.
Yeah, so we will see, but that's the race I'm really looking forward to. It's just those Iron Men.
Okay, so obviously being an Iron, you know a little bit more about Iron stuff yourself. So quick, as I'm looking at the Iron Hiscores here, what do you think the chances that, like, I'm seeing 5th hardcore Iron Man lull is he's 3K hours away. You think that motherfucker's on a 119 right now? God damn.
Yeah.
You think he could potentially be someone to look at? Like,
well, he's a hardcore, and I actually think Sailing, I think there will be some really high XP rates that are going to be very dangerous, personally. Like, I think there's going to be risk of dying. Okay. So I just can't see him passing up DK or Higer. If Higer wants it, like, he can get it, I think, but I think it's going to be a close race. And I don't know if Higer's willing to put in as much effort as DK is.
Well,
I do want to say something.
He's popped off for a lot of hours in the past.
I know, but the thing is, like, he hasn't, like, by the time Sailing's released, it'll have been like almost 2 years since he's really gamed. So I think that kind of takes a toll. Who knows, though? Maybe the rest that he got would actually help.
You mentioned Bailey, Sabi. I think that guy has like a family and everything now, so I don't think he's gonna go too hard. I think the people is gonna go hard.
He has a where'd you see that?
No, I've been told.
Really?
Maybe it's a rumor that. Yeah. But anyway, I think the people are gonna go hard.
I'm hearing of this.
Yeah. The people are gonna go hard. It's like you mentioned, like Hebox gonna go hard because he's like got a YouTube thing going now, and he's obviously like a good player as well. I think Jagex could be underlooked. I know the guy was like more of a consistent player, but like 60, 70, something like that. But now this is a full-time streamer. He's a neat. I think it's like good content for him. I can see him going super hard. So like my top 5 would probably be like.
I mean, I'll say
like Rodney 1, Fast number 2, maybe Hebox 3, and then Jagex 4, and like. Fuck it, put Arnett 5. I don't know if you guys know Arnett, but this guy goes so hard in comps. He hasn't played like years, but when it comes to comps, this guy does not mess. This guy does not mess around in comps. Okay, if he gets motivated Sailing, he'll be around number 1.
Alright, so I got a couple things with that. I think predicting someone that doesn't even have 3K EHP that quit years ago That is possibly the boldest prediction I've heard.
I believe in him. He was on my fantasy
Um,
team, and he would like just pull like a 140, just like not be tired at all in voice chat.
I don't think Hey Jace has a chance at being top 5. I mean, like, you know, he's certainly much more of a marathon player rather than like.
No, I agree with that. But like, considering he's a streamer now and he's like making money from it, and he's a NEET, it's gonna be like great content for him. I could definitely see him just going hard as fuck, even though it's not really his playstyle.
Yeah, I mean, like
It depends if he enjoys it. If he
And
enjoys
he
the
might
skill,
also be motivated for rank 1 because he's ranked number 2. So like, I could easily see him going like absolutely crazy.
I mean, I gotta like, he's a very good gamer, but he's a very good 300 to 350 hour a month gamer, which that was what was required to get. But like, I get to like 3.
That's when he had that job back in the day, though, right?
Huh?
That's when he had like work back in the day, right? Was it NEET when he played it?
No, he had a no, he was a NEET for the majority of it.
Oh, yeah, fair enough then. I still believe in him though.
But I mean, like, I don't think he's capable of popping off 450s, and I think that's going to be the minimum threshold. I think he could be counted on for like 270s to 350s if he's going as super hard. But from what I've seen him talk about before, like a skill, he's not interested in doing that. Like,
yeah, he's said that explicitly. He's not interested in racing.
Oh yeah, I haven't heard that. So fair enough. I still think VR is gonna be number 1, but he said no cheating, so probably that.
I think that Heatbox definitely has a chance. Real good gamer. But here's a valid question. How much of the with the content creating having taken off for him in the last year, do you if you're in his shoes, do you just disregard your content creation like video wise and shit and just stream the whole time? Like, don't even because think of the like the effort that he puts into the videos that he has, like you can't be doing that if you're going to be competing.
No, dude.
So,
if he were to decide like I am going 100% hard on getting 200 mil sailing first, or being among the first, he could stream that to 800 viewers for a couple months, like easy. And like Twitch pays really good ad revenue now. Like, I mean, if he's streamed for 10 hours a day,
maybe I'll get back into it then.
Yeah, no. Anybody that's going for 200 mil sailing, and if you're going to be dedicated to it, you should really stream, because I think you'd pop off.
Okay.
Yeah, he could also hire an editor or something to get some.
I feel like even having that communication honestly is not worth it. Like,
now he would just stream it and probably just record little bits for after the fact, make like a video of it.
Yeah, that'd be his best bet for sure. But yeah, I mean, he would. I hadn't even thought about him, but yeah, he'd be in contention for sure as a top 5er, as a top 5 legit-er, I should say.
He's also, I just got to also point out, sorry for interrupting again, but he's also a great innovator. Like, I think he fundamentally just knows the intricacies of the game, and so he'll be able to squeeze in that little bit more XP per hour just all the time. He's just really good at min-maxing.
Yeah, for sure. He's like the Wooks of the skilling community, I guess you could call him.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't really know a ton of the super high level players. Basically, all the old ones that I know have been, long gone. Like you guys have talked about with, Hey Jace not being probably in contention because he doesn't really plan to go for it. Lynx Titan not really existing in the space anymore. I did have a conversation with Haybox about it, and he said he was going to shoot for at least top 10. He wants single digit for sure. So I think he is definitely in contention for a top 5 legit if he is like you guys had just said, streaming the whole time, But I also know that, the older I think we all get, I think the less we want to put that strain on our bodies sometimes. So it all depends on.
Oh yeah, I mean, I can assure you, I will not.
Yeah.
When and if and fuck it if it ever does, an additional skill after this would come out, I ain't gonna be here.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean, even myself, I'm only 26, but I broke my wrist 3 years ago, and even now, like I still get like some mild irritation from that if I'm sitting at my PC too long. So I can only imagine people who have put into it, like some of the people in this room. I'm just blows my mind sometimes. So as far as I don't really have a top 5. One question I did have though: does Harmony still play?
That's VR.
Oh, that's your. That's why.
yes,
That's what I thought, but I wasn't for sure.
They
He plays
still
Iron
do.
Man, right?
Nice.
That is kind of who I had, just because of the history of their accounts and how they still made it to rank 7.
And the will to win at any cost.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the they thing is not a pronoun, just to clarify.
Oh, I get it. See, and I did not know that. Like I said, I'm not super in touch with all the super high level players, but I would like to see an Iron Man get top 5, and then kind of expanding on what you guys were talking about with 5th Hardcore Iron Man. They talked about in one of the videos that sailing may have dangerous things, but it doesn't mean that you're going to necessarily die. It may just mean you'll be like kicked out of the boat and washed up on shore somewhere. So I guess we'll have to see what things they implement in regards to that specifically. If you will lose status if you like die on your boat, or if you'll just be kicked back to shore.
I think they mentioned that if it was like a combat thingy where some pirate boards your ship and then you die, then that's obviously a real death. But if your ship was to like capsize or run out of some type of resource that it might have, then that would just be like a wash up upon at shore thing. So
Yeah, for sure. I guess we'll see when inevitably that happens. Well, I feel like we'll inevitably see a hardcore lose on like first week of sailing because of something silly like that.
Yeah.
It'd probably be pretty smart of them to just avoid the content entirely for, certainly quite a while until.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, don't try to be innovative on a hardcore, I would say. So wait. Yeah, wait for some solved methods.
Yeah, there's a future question regarding this, and I'm probably not going to be going for it right away because of the potential unwanted combat XP. So,
yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, my bad.
No, go ahead.
So like with the the competing aspect of it, I'm like doing quite a bit of prep work in anticipation for it. So I've got, so they say late 2024. So my anticipation is that, sometime between July and December is kind of when they're planning on coming out with it. So for trying to compete, I've got a plan that I'm going to try to, follow through with. And it's going to be, quite a bit here. I mean, in one aspect, it's kind of good that they're giving a little bit of time for that kind of build up. So what I'm planning on doing is like for work, because that's really the only thing kind of in my way of being able to, potentially be top 10, top 15, is going to be, like the quantity of work that I have to do. Because obviously I'm not quitting. I'm not going on a leave of absence or any kind of bullshit like that. So some of the things that I've been doing now since sailing past a couple weeks ago is that in preparation, what I'm doing is work. So at our work, as long as we have, a minimum amount of staffing working, that's kind of all that they're looking for in that. So what I'm doing right now and what I'm going to be doing later today after this podcast is I've got a shift that like I'm going to be trading with people, and I'm going to be accumulating essentially a whole bunch of IOUs. So I've got a guy that I'm working for tonight, and he will owe me a shift, and my plan is to try to get like somewhere between like 20 to 30 essentially like full shift IOUs from the other people that I work with. So ideally what I could do is, like, as Sailing is about to come out, we're gonna definitely know when that fucking day is. Say I have a dozen people that owe me 2 or 3 days each, because okay, so yeah, this guy, he's gonna be off later tonight, but like on his his paycheck, he's actually putting down that he's working, and I'm not putting down that I'm working for it, because it's it's a trade. Like, he's trading today, September 16th 2023, for future time. That future time, that could be September 16th, 2024, for all I fucking care or know about. So, like, I'm trying to bank a whole lot of time in anticipation to be able to do that. So, like, say Sailing is about to be coming out, and I have, maybe like 5 to 6 weeks of time that other people owe me. So, like, I don't have to use my own time. I'm essentially working it prior to the Sailing release. So, it's still the same amount of time that I'm working, and I'm not technically taking off for it. So I'm going to try to get like 20 to 30 days of that, and then say we get the day that Sailing's going to be coming out, and what I'm going to do is flop down the schedule for like the people that owe me time and say, all right, you owe me this many shifts, 2, 3, 4, whatever that number is, and I'll say, all right, can you pick, and I XP rates, if we have any idea what that is prior to release, may alter that, but I might say, like, hey, you owe me 4 days. Here's my shift schedule for the next 6 weeks. Can you please pick 4 of the time that you owe me? Can you please pick it in this time frame here? And then I'm just gonna have that, like, pretty much have everyone that owes me time do that, and then say I can then like, I have a lot of vacation time. I got holidays and shit that, like, I'll be able to, like, I did some kind of bad mental math, and if I were to if I were gonna be like using vacation time on top of that, like, I think that I could be off of work for like almost 3 months. So
Jesus.
But yeah, a lot of that is, having people owe me like 6 weeks of time prior to release. So that's kind of some of the prep stuff that I'm doing. So, like, my goal would be to try to play like 130 hours a week. Like, if I'm not having work going on. But yeah.
That's like top 5 for sure if you keep it up.
Well, it would depend. I would certainly be racing against the clock until I'd have to go back to work.
Yeah.
So, like, if it's under 1,000 hours, I'd probably feel pretty good about top 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I feel like it heavily is dependent on the meta. Like you were saying, like, maybe it's team based, maybe it's risky, maybe it's like not good for level 3s. Like, all those are kind of hard to take into account. So, like, if it is, like, I don't know. My list has basically changed since we've been on the call, like, but hearing like what you're doing, Randy, and whatnot. But for top 5 Hexis, I've got Enjoys, Randy, Dan Gleesack. I had you Plundering, but you said you're kind of worried about it. But if like they like were to somehow guarantee there's no risk, then you'd be next. And then after that, I don't know, maybe Seb. I don't really know what everyone's plans are, but that's my Hexis list. Overall, I have faith. I'm a big fan, so I'm gonna go number 1 Vior, 2 Enjoys. If it's team based, I don't know about Farva, but if it's like metas like individual, then I'd probably go number 3 Farva, number 4 Fast LT, and then 5 would probably be box. Or again, if like level 3s are not capped at all, I could see JCW, because he went super hard on Necro and could do like 140, 150s, and he's also a full-time content creator.
I think JCW was a big sleeper pick right there.
Yeah. I didn't even
Yeah. And
Yeah.
and I agree that Iron Race is really hype. Like all of them are also really good players. So if the meta hopefully is like high skill ceiling, that'll be a lot of fun. And I also like I can't see Jace. I don't know, top 5. I don't know if he'll be like top 15 to be honest. Like not to take shots or anything, but like he's never really done like 400 hour plus months, 450. And then like another point you guys mentioned, unknown random person getting 200 mil ceiling first. I can't see it. Like basically all the month recs are pretty like month EHP records are by pretty known players. I mean it'd be kind of cool to see. I think that obviously based off like past experience, like I 100% guarantee everyone's going to assume if it is a random that they're account sharing, but it would be cool if it was some random legit player.
I guess here's an interesting question that you talk about. Like at what threshold do you think it crosses being like if it's a random, like say it's a random guy that no one's ever heard of, at what point, like, yeah, I don't even know how to ask it.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Like Farva, if you look at like Farva, like everyone when he was like had his rise, everyone thought he was account sharing. It seemed like, or like a lot of players did, and so like I don't know if it was like 450 months out of the blue with some random dude.
Farva's cool though. Hey, shout out Farva if you're watching this. If you remember, you did promise Dan that you were going to be on a Hexis podcast. I've been told otherwise, but
I'm a big Farva fan.
Change your mind, Farva. We'd love to have you on. But yeah, we definitely got to get moving on time here. We're blasting way past time frame. So the next question we have is going to be like, what do you think about the top? I think this the top 250 on the high scores are going to be preserved, like with the release of sailing and like essentially the resetting of the high scores. What do you think about that?
I think
it'll be good. I think it'll be good for legacy players, but otherwise, no really opinion based on that.
Yeah, I think it's really up to those players to decide whether they want it to be that way. I personally would be completely okay with them just doing a new skill and then everyone has to compete. There it is. Like, just sucks. But again, that's not really, I'm not in that position, so I don't really have a great view on it, a great take.
I like the idea of it, although like my faith in the web team is even lower than that of any other like branch of the like of Jagex. Like the high scores look like a mess, they function like a mess, and the web team has consistently every single year that I've been playing this game failed to meet the minimum expectations of being a quality. So like I think it's totally on the board that they even forget to do the preservation thing, but I do appreciate that it's something that they are considering, so thank you for that.
So if I understand this question correct, it's basically gonna be another high score, right, with like the current high score.
Yeah.
They also mentioned like a little potential like emblem or symbol next to your name if you're like top 250 or some shit like that, I think.
Okay.
You know what I think would actually be cool? Hold on, Sebby, real quick. You know what I think would actually be real cool is if rather, and I know that they said 250, but like I think it would be cool if they did like top 100 and like on your high scores, like like this badge that they're talking about. I would love if they showed like on that badge, individualized for each person, what your rank was prior to sailing. So like put a 22 on me, put a Sebby, what are you going to be, 50? 48?
Yeah, like 48, 47.
Like have Sebby have, something like that. Lynx can have his one. I think it would be cool if there was a badge, like not just a badge saying you were top 250, but if that badge showed what your rank was.
Maybe I'll go a little off topic here, but like, could we like change the question to like,
you
what
can answer the question however you want, man.
Yeah. So basically, if I like change the question and we ask like, what do you think about like a new high score? Like, is this gonna be like, are you looking forward to a new high score or no? Because the way I look at it, it's giving people like a second chance to like prove themselves. Like, let's say like Rodney Farber, right? Like this guy obviously deserves front page, arguably rank 1. and he's not even on the front page because he like started way later than, let's say, Randalicious, right? So like a new high score is gonna give someone like Farva a chance to like get like a really good rank. Is that like good for high scores or no? What do you think? Because like at the same time, like Randy, you gamed for like what 6-7 years, like super consistently. And like if someone like
Yeah, I mean,
DJs for 2 months,
it
are they necessarily a better skiller than you? Like not really, right? So it's like pros and cons there.
Yeah, I mean, like for me finishing, I played like between an average of like 40 to 50 hours a week for 8.5 years to be able to get it, and like it would
Yeah.
certainly be discouraging if someone that like somewhat like a new skill comes out and this person's a neat, and just because they're able to dedicate 2 months of their life or 3 months, way more so than what I did for, like it. There's pros and cons to it. I see what you're saying, but I mean it's an inevitability of it is that there's gonna be some guys that are 200 mil all before release that started way after I did, and they're gonna blow by me. It's just the nature of the beast.
The nature of this. We can go next question, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think
Well,
Yeah. Fuck Plundering, fuck Awenix. Don't let them answer. Okay, Sammy.
Jesus Christ, they're not max, but goodness.
I think it's a good idea overall just to have like a snapshot or whatever, and hopefully you can click on each individual player's name so you can see like all of their ranks and stuff. And yeah, that's pretty much it. It's a good idea.
I know we're short on time, so I'll say it is going to be really sad to see Lynx lose his rank 1. But so I kind of like the idea of it, but my concern is that like if they do this, I think that there's a chance they could be like, all right, well now all you guys who are 200 mil all got your like permanent rank, so now like we're gonna like they could be more apt to like buff XP rates and shit, because like these top 250 players, like the people who put in a ton of time and like did it kind of the older methods, like have their acknowledgement, and then I feel like they could use that as like a launch pad to like just start buffing like all methods basically, because they already have like a permanent like emblem or whatever. So that's like my one fear.
Oh, I also wanted to add on the web team incompetence, I guess you could say it. The account build high scores, like for level 3s and 1 defense pures, their 200 mil ranks are based on whoever logged in first and not who got the 200 mil first. So,
fuck.
So that's like another thing
Example?
an example of how they're not that great. So yeah, that's a potential issue.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I can recall a time where the web team in 10.5 years has ever once impressed me with the work that they've been able to produce. It has always, without fail, been something that has failed to meet the minimum expectations of having a decently designed, essentially spreadsheet of information for people, and the way that it's kind of outputted to us. Like, it still looks disgusting right now with having such a whack-ass scroll bar on the left-hand side. Look at skills, look at bosses, look at like just everything that they have. It's just so sloppy and is so overdue for needing a better design, I believe. But sailing definitely is going to be planned to have a section dedicated to it on what I would imagine to be practically every podcast leading up to its release. So like we're a skilling clan, and a new skill is like quite literally the biggest update to ever come to the game for us. So I mean, it's been an hour and a half and we haven't even really gone too like as far into it as we probably could, but we're gonna move on to the next like section here, just talking about like Varlamore and the Hunter Guild. But there's other things that go on besides sailing, so if you guys have any other sailing questions that you want us to answer in the future, join our Discord and submit a topic on it. So the Hunter Guild is part of Varlamore, which is an expansion to the south side of Zaya. One of the updates that they're coming out with in that is called Rumors. So Rumors are going to be similar to how a task is for Slayer or how a contract is for farming. You will be tasked with catching specific creatures for a reward. This is essentially taking an element of what's Artisan, which was a skill that was pulled in 2014, and adding this in like an element of that skill, just adding it in as a generalized training method for the Hunter Guild. What do you think about this method?
I think Autumn Elegy said it best on Twitter. Shout out Autumn Elegy. Slayer for farming, Slayer for hunting. I do not want Slayer for every skill. I play a level 3 because Slayer is the worst skill. Hot take, I know, but that is my opinion. I don't like contracts. I don't like that they're like the meta for Iron Man. I don't like, because we already know that this would be like the best way to do it, basically, especially with the other things they're pulling into it. But I'll leave it at that. Rumors bad. I would like just Hunter Guild activities.
I haven't read much into this Hunter Guild in all honesty, but I feel like we have like a lot of hunter methods already. Herbivore, chains, Medical Monkeys. I think the variety is there, and all these like mini games, whatever this is, they're like forcing it to the game is questionable. But I mean, I'm down for content. I'm Thermal Hunter, so that doesn't really affect me either way. But don't really
Yeah,
care either way.
yeah, I really hope it's not like some meta shit. Like I really hate hourlies, dailies, or if it's like something where you do it and do some other skills in between. Like any of that's really cringe. And like Seb said, like Hunter's super diverse right now. There's no reason to change it at all. Like it's honestly, I mean, the only shitty thing is DriftNet, but aside from that, like I know that people like DriftNet, but multi-skilling is kind of cringe in my opinion. But like aside from that, like yeah, you have monkeys for AFK, you've got herbivore for like better XP but more effort, red chins for a little bit more XP and a lot more effort, and then black shins is like high risk, lots of effort. So yeah, I don't see why they need to change Hunter at all.
You got Birdhouse as a dailies too, right?
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, as long as
That's
they
an
don't add
hourly.
more birdhouses, I'm actually fine with them coming out with a Hunter Guild. I think it might be kind of fun to just get a bit more variety. And it looks like some of the stuff that those Hunter creatures drop are actually going to have some value now. So
Yeah, if
I'm
it's like value based, I'm
forward to
fine
it.
with that. But if it's XP, like if it's like a new meta, I just don't think that Hunter needs that at all.
I don't think anything will be a new meta, to be honest. We already have black chins, and
You don't think the white
Nothing.
Sallies could be 300k plus?
nah.
Yeah.
I think they could be, and I think there's certain like in fear of giving them a good idea, I think that making like those white salamanders like cost money to train but be the best XP per hour does kind of have a, you know, like that I don't think would actually be a terrible update to it. Whereas, you know, like doing, you know, 200 mil hunter right now, you're getting almost, those are like, you're able to get damn good rates, but, you know, make a couple bill if they had it, you know, say they had it like 15% faster XP, but you have to pay money for it. As what, like, I think that could have a place.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I think that as long as it's like high skill ceiling, I think that'd be good.
It would certainly have to be different than like the black and red salamanders right now. Like these are some advanced Zaya salamanders. That
I don't think they're changing any of that, though, to be honest.
The super salamander.
That would be a gold sync too, right, Randy? If you did it like you said.
I mean,
no?
it would depend on what is used for the, like, for the training method. I mean, 200 mil all would cost more. I don't know if it would necessarily be a gold sync though, per se.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
it
and-
could potentially tip the scales out of like having to do DriftNet to 200 mil hunters. So that'd be nice for sure.
Adding on to that, so since black salamanders are in the wilderness, they get an extra trap. So mountain salamanders could maybe not be as great as black chins because there's one less trap that you can use.
Yeah, I mean, I would kind of be surprised if they rewrote the meta with those.
Yeah, and for the contract, the rumor thing, I really hate those training methods, and again, like Mayfield said, I don't like Slayer. So yeah, that kind of thing isn't really appealing to me. And I've also never done a farming contract nor birdhouses on any account. So yeah.
Birdhouses is the only reason I have 99 Hunter.
Bam.
I don't like that skill.
And part of the appeal of Slayer is like getting a shitload of XP and other skills at the same time. Like, and you're not going to do that with Hunters. You'd just be doing this with Hunter XP. It'd be kind of weird.
Yeah.
All right, so they are adding a Quetzal pet. It's gonna be a new hunter pet as part of like the rumors. So you do the contract, and then you have a chance of getting this new hunter pet. Do you think Hunter needs a third skilling pet? So we've got the Chinchompa pet, we've got the herbivore. Do you think that this needs a third pet?
Yeah, I don't mind any pets that get released. Personally, I think it's always cool to have other goals to strive for that really aren't affecting much. So I'm cool with it.
See, I like pets as an idea. I think that is one of the best updates that they've ever done. It's funny to me, always thinking about how pets actually failed to pull when they were initially pulled the first time. But I don't like skilling pets. I like boss pets. I think that those are great and is something that they need to always ensure that they do when they release a new boss. But I don't like skilling pets, and I don't like the idea of adding in a third one. And then from I'm obviously never going to get all pets or anything of the sort, but one thing about like adding in like these skilling pets is that like say for like wood cutting, for example, you get like a 15 times catch or like pet rate at 200 mil. They made a change before where they they made a change before with Wintertide, in that before you never used to be able to get the pet, but with the accelerated rate through Wintertide, but now you can. You're not going to be able to. You can't get that with the herbivore right now. If you have 200 mil hunter, you have the same chance as if you have 200 mil as if you have no other levels. So I don't know, like it. I guess if they added it in a way that Wintertide is, to where you have that enhanced rate at 200 mil, I'd be okay with it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Seve for sure. Like, it's a good, like, pets are a good motivator for like to introduce content without like breaking other things. So I don't really care. I just can't imagine being a pet hunter. Like, that sounds so demotivating, especially because my pet luck is extremely unlucky.
What's your worst one?
200 mil fishing, no hearing.
Oh,
Jesus.
Yeah, and then on my all with Vorkath, I went like, I think I was like 7.2k or some shit like that dry.
You got no heron. It's like, what?
Nope.
And 200
not a single
mil.
one.
Fuck, man. That's horrible.
Yeah, it's wild.
As far as a new pet for Hunter, I am thumbs down, except I have one exception to this rule. Hunter is the only skill where you can't do any method to obtain the pets. I understand why for Herbivore and for the Chin. I get it, right? But I don't like that specifically for Hunter, because there are people who don't like Chins, people who don't like to do the Herbivore, whatever. I think that if they're going to add skilling pets, they should be able to be obtained from every facet of that skill. So in that sense, I am a thumbs down, but in the sense of new pet for things to do, things to go for, thumbs up.
I think like third hunter pet's a little ridiculous, but I mean, considering I already have 200 hunter, I have like no reason to train this skill otherwise, so like I'm all for it, whatever. At least then I can try out the new content without feeling bad.
Yeah, I agree with Mayfield on the only being able to get the pet from certain methods. But yeah, So I listened to the Q&A on the Hunter Guild thing, and JMod Other explained her point of view, and that there's two pets that are gated behind the Hunter skill, but they aren't necessarily Hunter pets. And the proposed Quetzal pet would be more similar to the pets that are achieved or acquired from the other gathering skills. So there's going to be a wider variety of methods that you can use in order to get pets. Like, even if it's based off of the rumors, you'll still be hunting different creatures and using different methods to get those pets. So overall, I'm fine with it.
All right. So Fimbria submitted a topic. He wanted us to discuss the Duke like 6-hour botting method that people are doing. So for this, people were cheating by putting something down on their spacebar as an example, essentially then having a 1 to infinite input to output, mining and getting about 60k mining XP per session. This was apparently fixed earlier this week, but this was something in the game that people were doing every hour of every day for the last like 6 weeks or so. What did you think about that as a method? And are you surprised that they fixed it?
Extremely ridiculous as a method. It's basically like, if you don't care about EHP or hours played compared to that, it's basically zero time mining.
Yeah.
You just set it and forget it when you go to bed, wake up, do everything else, go to bed, get 60k mining. By the time you max everything else, you'll have 99 or more experience with that mining. As far as being surprised they fixed it, kind of, for how long Guthin's Nightmare Zone existed, for how long things like that all existed in general. Don't like that now they want to just continue adding low APM methods like this for people in regards to like changing things. I do like that they talked about changing stars to help with the AFK mining stuff. I know people don't like mining, but as far as this goes, it should be in a similar sense of people. I don't know if people should get banned for it permanently, maybe a temp, kind of like people who were abusing the TOA glitches when they came out. There's people who got perm, but a bunch who got temp banned for that. So people know, like, hey, stop that shit off. As far as that's my opinion as far as that goes.
Yeah, it was wrong to have that in the game at all. And, I've been really outspoken about this in recent weeks because it actually surprises me how many people are not against it. But the main arguments I get against it are all straw man arguments saying like, oh, well, they should focus on botting as a whole before they would, address something like this. And other things I've been, accused of, why haven't you been outspoken about 6-houring the blast furnace pump and splashing and Nightmare Zone? And I've been against all of those. I think anything where you're literally away from your computer for hours at a time gaining XP is completely against the spirit of this game and should be removed. And I think anybody that's holding a space bar to just stay logged in for 6 hours, even if it's just at the pump, I think that's completely wrong as well. And people do it, but like,
well, and it is actually cheating too, is the thing.
Yeah, it is. It is cheating, but it's undetectable.
Not to defend Guthins, but like that was an actual game mechanic. Like you are in combat, you're able to stay logged like that. That was a game mechanic. Whereas, manipulating the game outside of the game to force yourself like that is certainly cheating.
Well, I would even argue that the Nightmare Zone was cheating, but Jagex was clearly okay with it. They were clearly okay with it. So that is the concern. But yeah, anytime you're like genuinely not at your keyboard, but you're having something held down, like that needs the whole holding your keyboard thing, like that can be a thing to stay logged in. That's fine. But almost every method, after 20 minutes, your guy should just stop doing what he's doing. So you can't do things for 6 hours straight. That's where I find a problem. I am literally okay with AFK. Like if that Duke mining stayed in and was just 20 minutes, I'm totally okay with that. Like we've gotten to the point where generally the majority of the community thinks that 20 minutes is fine. AFKing something's just really slow. I'm totally cool with that. Splashing, the pump, any nightmare zone, 20 minutes, that's totally fine. But you have to, like, your guy should stop, like, or maybe you have to hit another key on your keyboard, just something to prevent people from just holding a weight on their keyboard and it being fully undetectable. So I'm glad they fixed it, the Duke mining thing.
Yeah, I agree with everything. Like, I think it's pretty cringe when people are like, "Oh, it's only 60k XP." Like, why do you guys care? It's like it's not the XP really. It's the principle of being able to put a space bar on your, like, where does that end too? Like, there's other shit that you can do with like hotkeys and putting like weights on your keyboard to do like arty nights or shit like that. Like, I don't know how that's not just like bannable, but if it's like I don't know, I think they should make a statement on it and then just ban anyone if they do that, because I don't know how it's not. But yeah, like 20-minute AFK, definitely agree with all that stuff.
Yeah, I agree with everything that was said, and I am pretty surprised that they removed the method relatively quickly compared to the NMZ and splashing thing remaining in the game for like 2 or 3 years.
It was 2 years, 5 days. Yeah, obviously not good. I'm glad that they fixed it, and I am also at the same time surprised that they fixed it as well. So, you know, I'll dog on them when they don't do something well, and I'll give them credit when they do. This, you know, real good on them for doing that. One of the things that really pisses me off is like the pro Duke botting. People are like, well, you know, some of us don't have, you know, all day to play and grind. So, okay, if you don't have all fucking day, then you don't need to have the same stats. You know, like the stats come from being earned. Like, what? You're a 1,483 total level idiot who voted yes to sailing, and you're botting your mining, telling me that, you know, you don't have enough time to play. Okay, then you don't need the skills. That's it. It's a game of progression. So.
Yeah, that's what fundamentally scares me, is that we do have an influx of people that just want this game to turn into any other game. And like, this game is so different than every game, and there's a reason why it's been so successful for over 20 years, because it is different and you do have to grind for your stuff, and that's the beauty of the game. Like, you grind. You don't just get shit for free.
Very well said, for sure.
Yeah, and there's that mobile game called Melvor Idol, I think it's called, and it's basically RuneScape. And I think Jagex even bought it, maybe. But there's an idle game that you can play if you want that kind of stuff.
I have no comment, by the way.
I'll remove yourself from the question if you got nothing on it. So moving on. What was that game, Plundering?
Melvor Idol.
Okay. I'll take a note. Maybe I'll check it out.
It's not a bad game. Just idle.
Yeah. So NMZ. All right, so shout out to the top page. Ultimate Iron Man error occurred. Who died doing that cheating Duke method. Apparently lost 2.7 bill in gear and supplies as an Ultimate Iron Man. If you were him and that happened to you, what would you do? Would you quit? Would you keep playing?
So I think this is a fantastic question. Does anybody else in here play an Ultimate Iron Man?
I have in the past.
Never have, no.
Nope.
So as somebody who has almost wiped everything, all of my progress, I knew in the back of my mind I would 100% still keep going and rebuild. It's also funny that this comes up at this time because did any of you guys ever see the top page Reddit on 07scape or 2007scape? I forget what it's called. Where that Ultimate Iron Man got PK'd and died and lost like 1.6 bill.
Yeah, I think I remember that.
That was a friend of mine.
Oh, okay.
And you guys know what he did right when that happened? he said, well, now I have nothing to lose, so I'm going to go do wilderness content and finish the Voidwaker. So I think it kind of speaks as to each person's mentality in that.
God bless him finding the positives.
Yes.
That wouldn't be my response.
So as an Ultimate Iron
He's
Man
better
myself,
than I am.
who has almost wiped and had to have this thought before, I would definitely continue playing. But God, I would be embarrassed if I died doing like a botting/cheating method.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I would definitely still keep playing because knowing that the incident was preventable and the only fault was my own, that would motivate me to keep going and rebuild.
Man, I'd be quitting. Just that's thousands out. Goodbye.
Yep, I would log off, try to never even think about the game again, probably. Just pretend like it never happened and pretend like I never played RuneScape to begin with. But if I were to keep playing, I would probably like lie and just say like I fucking died like spamming Gem Knights or something, not tell anyone how much I lost and like start a different account or something. I don't know.
If you were that guy, like, you know, I was like, you know, hey, I'll say this. I got respect that he, you know, admitted to it.
Yeah.
You know, I'll give him that.
Oh, I hate the no quitter. Okay, like I'd keep going. I mean, first of all, I would just never make Ultimate Iron Man, it's hard to say, but I'm not a quitter, so I just freaking keep going, man. Fuck it. Not getting to them all because I'm a quitter, you know what I'm saying?
Well, how much are you going to be playing in a couple months once you finish 200 mil all here? You're going to be doing any sailing prep or are you quitting?
I don't know, like do some PVM probably. Maybe some
Okay.
PK.
We should we gotta get in on our next business.
Oh yeah, I can teach some next, no problem. Some
All right.
duo, me and Randy.
Well, we're gonna need someone to fucking carry me at least for a little bit until I can figure out some other mechanics. But moving on, one of the other kind of bigger updates that happened was Desert Treasure 2. If you like, did you do Desert Treasure 2? And if so, what did you think about it and the bosses and like the rewards that come from it?
Industrious too, yeah. I mean, I did it for the Rings for Say, right? The Altar and the Magus. And I mean, yeah. I'm not a fan of them power creeping Ancestral. That's a little crazy. Like you're power creeping a power crept item. Like imagine when they like start power creeping like Masori, or like it's just gonna get crazy soon. But I still like the way they did it. It's only better for barraging. I think they did a great job. And the bosses, I'm only killed once per like every boss once. So I don't really know. I mean, they looked great, I guess. I like the fact that you need to do the quest for the rings though. So like you can't get the rings like level 3. They'll be a little broken.
Well, it wouldn't have a benefit for the level 3.
Yeah, I mean +2 strength bonus level 3, right? It's quite a lot for just a ring. You can get imbued rings, I think, level 3 with Fight Arena, but having an altar on level 3, that's a little crazy.
The warrior ring upgrade thing would be useful maybe with the poison dynamite, since that goes off of your attack bonuses.
Okay.
I just have not thought of something like that, but yeah.
Yeah, I think the bosses are fun. I've only really focused on Vardorvis and Duke so far on my account, but obviously I've killed all of them once at least, and I'm looking forward to Leviathan and Whisper, grinding those out. I did the Awaken version of Vardorvis so far, and that was really fun. It was just, it's difficult, but really it's just a little bit of practice, and then you get the hang of like what's going on. So I like that they also came out with the Awakened versions, and I think the way they did it with the Awakened orbs is interesting, and I'm glad they're testing little things out like that that seem just new and different. And I don't know. I think the way they did it was pretty cool, and I think the bosses are great. I love Vardorvis. I think it's simple. I think it's to the point, and it is. I mean, it's repetitive, but I think it keeps you pretty engaged. Duke gets better over time. Initially, Duke just feels awful because you're running and kind of skilling a little bit before every single fight, but you kind of get into the groove of things, and it becomes a little bit more fun over time.
I haven't done it, but I mean, from the sounds of it sounds like it was a good, like a really good quest. People liked it. People liked the bosses. So I mean, it seems like it was a pretty dang good update from what I've heard. But yeah, I mean, the power creep's a little cringe, but whatever.
I'm gonna do it at some point. Definitely waiting until the questing plugin comes out with it, and they said they were gonna wait a month. Is it out now? Is it out now?
Yeah, it's out, I heard, yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll get around to it at some point here. Cause what's the name of the ring that gives like the range bonus?
Venator?
Okay, yeah, I mean I need that for like the Zulrah that I'm doing right now, so 87, 56 kills, no pet, by the way. So yeah, it'll be I mean I was gonna wait. Yeah, I'm an idiot. So I was just waiting for the questing plugin.
You should track how many deaths you get.
It's gonna be that bad?
Well, maybe.
Oof. All right.
I haven't done the quest, but I might in the future on an alt account. From what I've seen in videos and streams, the bosses are pretty cool, and there's a variety of difficulty in both new and old mechanics. And the rewards are relatively balanced outside of the rings. Like the Virtus robes are only good for ancients. And yeah, that's it.
Okay. Are they I haven't actually watched any people killing it or anything. How comparable, like if you had to compare it to a different boss that's already in the game, and like say that even you've done that, what would be a comparable boss that's already out that it would be similar to?
What boss in particular? Like any of the four?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Are they that wildly different in mechanics?
Yeah, they're all different, but they're all probably on the level of, I would say, learning Zulrah, where it's just like, okay, it's kind of a bitch. You're probably going to die a few times because you're just learning it. And it's not exactly like Zulrah, where Zulrah is more of a memory game.
Yeah.
And there's not really many switches you have to do either in any of the fights. They're all just kind of one style. So it really is just learning it immediately. And then, yeah, it's a little bit more fast paced each fight, but you get it down within 50 kills.
A little bit.
They're more difficult than Vorkath, but
okay.
Yeah. But you get used to them after about 50 kills.
I had real quick. I had to discuss. Do you think Vorkath or Zulrah is more difficult?
Zulrah.
Oh wow. Okay. The people that are actually PVMers keep telling me that, and I mean I feel like
Zulrah is much more difficult. I mean, first of all, there's a memory game initially, so like you're just actually clueless for your first few kills. You're like no idea what's going on.
I mean, more so like after you got it down.
I mean, even after you got it down, if you want to be efficient, you got to do a lot of gear switching throughout the whole fight and movement, where Vorkath is just stay one style and just hit boss, dodge stuff.
Okay. Well, I'm looking forward to that. That was what I was planning on doing after I get this Zulrah pet here.
Yeah.
But all right. Moving on. There are some limited edition RuneScape plushies available now. It's they don't really do much merch stuff, so I thought it was noteworthy to include in here. The plushies that they have are going to be the Gnome Child, the Wise Old Man, Neve, and Bob the Cat. Of those, what one's your favorite? Any chance you're going to buy any or all of them?
I like the Neve the most out of them, and Bob the Cat probably my second favorite. And I don't think I'll be buying any of them since shipping costs are ridiculous from the UK.
What are they? Because like is it like just for the item itself? It's 30, right?
Oh, I didn't even look at the shipping costs. I just know that shipping from outside of the country is just not doing that.
Yeah.
I'm a big wise old man proprietor and Bob the Cat. Shipping costs from the UK to US are pretty expensive. I promised my roommate if he got an Infernal Cape within the first week that he was going for it, I would buy him the Infernal Cape keychain. And I think it cost me like $17 in shipping just for a keychain.
Jesus.
But he got his Infernal Cape, so he deserved it. Chances of me buying these, probably pretty low.
They're available for another 4 days, 9 hours, 54 minutes, and 35 seconds. I like the Gnome Child one the best. Like people who don't play RuneScape recognize and know the Gnome Child. So I like that. Probably put Wise Old Man at 2, Neve 3, Bob the Cat 4. Cause but I didn't even think about like shipping or anything like that. But I don't know. Maybe if I were to get one, I think it would be the Gnome Child. But I mean, limited time, maybe worth it. But next we got question is, have you ever been burnt? And if so, like, if not, like, just talk about like how do you feel motivated? How do you stay engaged?
Like, I don't know, for me, like, for a long time I worked full time at a job that I could not like mobile at all, and so like mobile release definitely kind of burnt me out because I had to play so much outside of like without any like zero time, and just like everyone else's hours just were like fucking through the roof, so that was kind of rough. But I mean, I don't know, I guess like I kind of just stick to like a daily XP goal for like whatever skill I'm working on, and then like kind of try to go off that like a monthly XP goal. And I base like there's like a couple months ago, like I actually had like, I'm going for 200 mil mining. I had no clue what mining XP I was even at. Like all I did was look at what XP I was getting each day, and I was like, I don't even like, I think I'm at like a 130, and I mean I just checked, but like, cause somebody asked me while I was streaming or something, I like had no clue what I was even at. So I had set like a daily XP goal for myself, and then like buff it up on the weekends a little bit, and then like monthly goals, and then eventually get there.
So I don't really like the term burnt, but I have taken some extended breaks from the game due to real life obligations becoming more of a priority. Like when I was in high school, I drastically reduced my playtime or stopped completely
Burnt.
during the baseball seasons because I don't like. I'm not really good at splitting my time, and I like to go hard in whatever I'm doing. And yeah, so I also don't think that having a change in plans doesn't always equate to being burnt. And if, in my case, it's usually a preventative measure to avoid burning out. And to stay motivated, I like to set both long-term and short-term goals, so I always feel like I'm making some sort of noticeable progress. And I don't force myself to do methods I don't enjoy, but I will at least always attempt most methods, so that because there's a lot of skills have these little intricacies that are satisfying to me, and you never know what those could be before trying out the methods yourself.
See, I think like the times that I probably like felt most burnt was like 2014, like when I was getting close to finishing maxing, and I was like one of like top 10-ish. So I was kind of burnt. It was at the end of my freshman year of college, and I was just looking to just kind of finish. I was doing the motherload mine back then. There was no tick manipulation for mining, so like the motherload mine was like 40k an hour, and you also were not allowed to play on alts as well by rule. So like I did motherload, and it was like 40k an hour, and that shit just really kind of weared on me. As I was getting 99 on it. A couple other times I probably say if like definitely felt burnt was like while I was doing Slayer, like there was for probably like cause like agility took me like 3,000 hours, Slayer took me like 2,000. So, 5K hours, which is kind of split up amongst probably like 2.5 years of just doing the same 2 skills. That kind of wore on me a bit, as I was kind of tagged, like doing them like like I'd do Slayer for a couple hours, and then maybe, I wanted to take a break, and my break would be agility. So I'd say I was kind of feeling burnt while I was doing like the 2 slowest skills in the game at the same time, straight to 200 mil. But to stay motivated, I mean, when I was, gaming for 200 mil all, it was just having that goal in mind, trying to stay consistent, and just having something I wanted to do, and just pushing, really. So not healthy.
I think one of the biggest things. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. You have something else?
No, that was it.
Okay. I definitely been burnt in like the past, or I guess I also don't like the term, but we'll use it for what we're talking about here. When I was doing college, I didn't really play that much. From about like 2016 to early 2019, I didn't really play a ton. And I was pretty casual back then. And then I made this account, and then it just kind of been a straightforward push ever since probably December 2019. Been pretty consistent. Of course, I travel for work sometimes, so I don't always get to put in the time I want. I think the biggest thing that I like to think about is, even if I only play 1 hour a day, I'm still, gaining XP. So on days where I only get to play an hour, or log in and do an hour of fire making or fishing or whatever, I'm still moving towards my goal. And even if it's slow, I'm still eventually going to hit what I want to get done. And I think that's what kind of keeps me motivated. Of the 200 mall grind, and it's pretty much infinite on an account like mine. So I'll virtually never run out of things to do.
I personally just start doing more AFK stuff. So let's say I'm in construction, I'm burning out, I'll go to VM. It's not more advanced than that, really. Or if I do VM, maybe I'll close down 1 or 2 alts. Maybe run 0 alts if I'm really burnt, and just open up another game as the VM. Send some Hearthstone as the VM or some shit. Just play less efficiently, I suppose. It's usually how I do it.
Yeah, I think the thing that really keeps me pretty motivated is the times I've been absolutely the most motivated in this game. I always see the times where I wasn't as motivated as I appreciated that I didn't just quit or, de-iron or do anything rash. That's just that I would look back on and be like, why did I do that? I was just a little bit burned through the stage. So the times I'm motivated, I'm always grateful for the time I have put into this account, because I do like the overall progression of just like Mayfield was saying, if you only play an hour a day, you're still getting somewhere. And this past year, I've definitely been a lot, I wouldn't even say burnt, but I just play a lot less for various reasons. I just want to progress my real life a little bit more in certain aspects, like fitness and just getting outdoors a lot more. But I know there will be a time where I get a lot more motivated for this game, just grinding, and I want to sit down for a lot more hours every day. And I'm going to be grateful for, even in that time, I wasn't as motivated toward the game. I was still gaining XP, and so I got a lot of stuff done along that way. Because, yeah, that's kind of how I see at least the motivational factor. It's everything you do in this game will progress your account in some way. So
yeah, I mean,
cool.
We talked about the game almost being an idle clicker before, but another thing that I've had that's motivated me in the past has been say I start watching a new TV show that I find really if I'm doing that, I'm watching a new TV show. Okay, aside from the anything Star Wars related, that gets my full that and Vikings games get my full undivided attention. But an example is this new show came out earlier this year called Quarterback, and one of the quarterbacks that it was following is Kirk Cousins, and I thought that was super interesting. It was really motivating. So for me, although applying it more sort of the real life stuff, I was working out, I got an elliptical in my gym in my home gym, and I'd want to watch the next episode. So turn that bitch on, run on the elliptical for like 50 minutes or so, for like how long that was. So like and that was the same like mentality that I applied like when I was like training and going for 200 mil all, was that get turned on to a new show, or even like a new series or something like that, and it's like, all right, like I definitely want to see like what's next. And that being logged into RuneScape just kind of becomes like a byproduct of the interest in things outside of RuneScape, so it benefits in that. Like and I'll give an example. Like right now, one of the things that has kind of got me a little bit motivated to right now, aside from like just set like on its own, is that I got a bunch of new like audio books that I'd like to listen to, and I did the math. There's a couple hundred hours worth of them, and I'll just tell you this, like from the PVMing that I've been doing, like post 200 mil all, like obviously like I am nowhere near the skill level that most other people are PVM wise, but like I don't find it as easy to like whereas like when you're skilling, for example, at least for me, I found it pretty easy to be watching a show, playing my main, and then playing several alts on the side. I don't find myself being able to like pay as much attention to those shows now as I PVM, as opposed to like when I was doing skilling. So like audio books is something that I think it would be a much better listen to, like for me at this current point in time. So like I'm kind of motivated to like over the next couple of months I got like a dozen or so of them, and just kind of go through, listen to those while doing some PVM crap in game.
Yeah, audiobooks are incredible for this game. It's any sort of podcast or audiobook specifically.
Yeah. Something else that's very motivating is listening to the Hexis Podcasts. So, that'll keep you interested for a couple 100 hours.
They really do, and they slap. Like those early episodes genuinely slap. I love going back in time. They're like little time capsules, dude.
Yeah, that's like one thing that like as I was remastering is like it was one of the things that I had in mind, was like just wanting to be able to get them, because like it gives you an idea of what the players were thinking at that time. Because here's the thing, like I've listened, as I listened to every single one, it's like, all right, like here's an example. I was shit talking Volcanic Mine prior to release, and literally years later, when I actually went around and started training, it became one of potentially like my favorite method that I ever ended up training. But before even training it, I was shit talking it heavy. So it's interesting to see how different players' opinions evolve, and just how the game does as well. Well, all right. We had a submitted topic here. But what achievements or records are you that you've set are you most proud of?
I would say for myself, if you look on obviously it's a very niche temple page, the level 3 UIM temple page. When it comes to total XP or rune crafting or fire making, I am top 2 or 3 in most of those categories. Whereas that being yearly, 6-hour, day, month, week. There are obviously some where I have been surpassed since then. Obviously, since like we had talked about before, I'm not as active of a gamer as I once was, but I'll still hold a lot of those to this day. I think I still have the 6-hour fire making record. Just a few small things, as well as achievements. I'm just most proud that I have stuck with this account as long as I have. I used to have a very bad habit of swapping accounts. But over my 3.5 years of playing this account, I have made some alts, had some fun doing some other things like EVM, Group Ironman when it came out, limited builds, other games, whatever it may be. But through all that time, I have stuck with Mayfield.
Yeah, I think the most proud achievements I have that are not really related to skilling, but being the first Iron Man and only Iron Man in the game right now to have a full classic gilded set is pretty cool. I get to flex that.
How many clues did you have at the time of getting that?
Well, there's a mixture of like masters, elites, and hards, but I think I got the final piece of the classic 4-piece gilded set, which is just like the plate body, full helm, plate legs, and kite shield. The kite shield was the last piece, and it was around 3,800 hards, I think.
Okay.
But also I had done a bunch of elites and masters, so getting that was cool. Also having 4 pieces of third age is really cool. One of my like ultimate long-term goals is to get a full set of third age, which would be insane. And another proud achievement is getting my Inquisitor's Mace and just sticking to that grind. And also just getting my Zuck helm as early on as I did. I think I surprised myself in my ability. There was a lot of pieces of content I just thought was like I knew I wasn't proficient at, and I just sat down and got it done. So that was also a cool little achievement.
Getting 200 mil runecraft was probably my most notable achievement, since it was my first 200 mil on any account, including in RS3 or pre-EOC. And it also boosted my confidence, since I felt that if I could do what's commonly thought is the worst skill, I could do them all. And during the 7-month grind, I went from about 40 mil XP to 200 mil in runecrafting, and this was when I really started getting into more efficient skilling, as I binged the old Hexis podcasts to help pass the time.
Yeah.
And I also made a ton of GP during that grind, which opened the door to a lot of more efficient methods that would be viable for me. And the records I enjoyed going for the most would be the level 3 Slayer records that I achieved during the week that the Dragon Candle Dagger from the 2023 birthday event, it had a guaranteed 0 hit. So me and a certain other high-ranking level 3 player worked together to gather XP rates, task locations, and generally optimizing the methods. And I really enjoyed that, and that made me consider that factor of what a new skill could bring to the game and its community, like collaborating and just finding like all those little things that you can do to become more efficient and all that. Yeah, that was a really fun time for me, and that makes me look forward to the new skill as well.
For achievements, probably 200 mil agility, because that was my first 200 mil. I barely even had any 99, so it was pretty cool for me to do like 3.3k hours or whatever it was back then. Even though RD's like, yep, it's kind of a meme now. Like it was a meme, but like it's low effort, but it was a lot of hours, and like I don't know, it was pretty cool at the time for me to hit. And then records, probably just the mining day, fishing day that I'd done.
For me, our most proud achievement would have to be winning the Temple Comp 2021. Like I remember, we were like super behind, and like the entire team was like, they will crack, they will crack, they will crack, and everyone, we just kept gaming, and like the last 2 days, we all just like, no one go to bed, and like bro, pretty much no one went to bed. I remember I slept like back to back 2 hours. Some people were up like 40 plus hours, and we just dropped like 100 plus hours unlogged on them, and we just fucking smoked them. Like some crazy comeback. That's just great.
Oh yeah, that reminded me of the 2022 Temple Comp. We didn't win, but I did get the highest EHP for individual, and that was pretty nice, because there were a lot of shit talkers, and I kind of proved them wrong, and yeah.
Keep doing it. Gonna sound, I mean, kind of lame, but for me, like the achievement that I was most proud of was achieving 200 mil all. Taking like over like 20k like real hours of playing to be able to have gotten it. It was such a marathon that for the majority of the time I didn't even think was something that was realistic, and just keeping at it, that I think around after about 5 years of playing, so like after I had probably played for more than like 12,000 hours at that point, that's when I was like, all right, I think that 200 mil all is a real possibility. So yeah, getting that definitely, and other achievement is just like being blessed to have been able to like be leading Hexis for 10 years. I think that's definitely an achievement in itself that I'm really proud of having done. Like even although I'm not playing 50 hours a week now as I did when I was doing 200 mil, like there's not been a shortage in terms of like my commitment to running the clan and the administrative aspects of just continuing to push the community and grow and improve. So I'd say the combination of those two. But getting close to the end here. I'm taking out a couple questions since I gotta attempt to sleep for 2 hours before I go to work. Yeah, but got a question here. Sebe, as a full-time content creator, do you have any suggestions or advice to give to any aspiring content creators?
Yeah, the only advice I can really give when it comes to that is just do it for a long time. And people start, like, I mean, when I first started content creating, like the first 3 months, I was averaging like 3 viewers on Twitch. Like it's just anybody else that would have any other responsibilities would have just seen the kid. This is a waste of time. Like this, I'm just gonna stop because this is pointless. It's going nowhere. But I think the more time you put into it, and the more you kind of nourish it in a sense, I think it just grows. And you also got to understand, like, you can't just put out anything. Like, it's got to be interesting. Like, you got to take an honest look at your content. Like, if you stream or make it like a YouTube video, just look at it from a viewer's eyes. Like, would a viewer want to watch this? At least in regards to making money off of it, because you got to understand, people have got to want to watch your stuff. And so, yeah, I think advice is just do it for a long time and love it. You got to love it and just see where it goes, basically, because there's a lot of luck involved, but there's also a lot of other factors that you are in full control of, which is just staying consistent and doing it for a long time. I mean, you see any big content creator that's just like a household name at this point, the number one factor is they've just done it consistently for like 5+, 10+ years sometimes. And that's really what makes you be able to do it like viably for money.
Good stuff. Had a submitted question from Onyx here, and it's just what has everyone been up to in game during the podcast, and what are your current goals?
So I'm just running laps at the good old RD rooftops so I could pay more attention to the podcast. Otherwise, I'd probably be doing Pyramid Plunder, and my current short-term goal is to stay consistent with my gains and also kind of waiting for Forestry Part 2 so I can take advantage of any features that may arise.
Who said it was a bug?
Right. And my longer term goals would be preparing for the eventual splash weapon change introduction in order to finish Slayer for True Max and getting all the skilling pets and working towards achieving as many 200 mils as I can.
I was doing some rune crafting, but I stopped to do Slayer during the podcast so I could like pay more attention, like Plundering said. Luckily for me, I got 3 Bloodwell tasks, so gonna be quite happy about that one.
Eating
Like,
good.
Just got a back-to-back Bloodwells here in the end, so that's like pretty nice.
Juicy.
Ifking the hell out of this. And then my goals, don't really have any goals to be honest. Like,
How many
also
hours? How many hours you off 200 mil all?
It's like 350 now.
Okay, so next month maybe.
But
2
I don't know
months.
if I'll do runners all the way. Probably want to save some money.
Honestly, if I'm you, I wouldn't like save the
Yeah,
money at this
just-
point. Like you've got this, like, you know, it doesn't matter if
Yeah.
you're going to be ranked, 47 or if you're going to be ranked, 53. Like, at this point, saying like that, it's certainly more, I think, more important to have the money to, if it would potentially be important for sailing.
Yeah, I agree. I just like don't like crew crafting's the problem. So like it's just satisfying to just get like 3 times more XP than if you do solo. But
Yeah.
yeah, we'll see. Like maybe some solo soon, yeah, or 1+1.
As for myself, I've been just doing some AFK fishing and cooking at the Barbarian Village, and also working on my RS3 Hardcore Iron Man. Just AFKing some Runespan on that. Otherwise, current goals on Mayfield, the big ones. My first tournament ever, which will be tournament firemaking, and then after that, I would like to finish maxing this account before I sit in for the long 200 mil runecrafting grind.
Geez, you guys are making me feel like I've been fucking not taking the podcast seriously. I've been doing Teaks this whole stream, so
What's the
but
XP per hour for it?
I'm ragging like pretty hard because I stop like at every question, so it's like 170. But aside from that, current goal is I'll probably finish up mining at the end of the month or like towards the end of the month here, and then just woodcut next.
Yeah, I've been killing Zulrah. Just trying to get the Zulrah pet. Well overdue in terms of drop rate. Pretty much depends on my mood whether I'm gonna be people notice like I have a shit ton of Jad kills. Like it kind of depends. Like I'll play Jad and like play games on the side. But sometimes like they're growingly over the last few months I've just been staying logged in, just killing Vyres while playing other games. Like an example would be like last month, I think I played like 75 hours or so of Doom Eternal, and like that as I was doing that, it was just like killing Vyres on my main, as well as like a dozen other alts as well at it, but. I mean, it just kind of depends on my mood on that given day on what I'm trying to do. But I guess like really the only real goal is just like sailing prep in terms of like just money, but like with mid effort trying to make it. And yeah, I mean, right now just goal is Zulrah pet. And after I get a Zulrah pet, then I'll go to Vorkath. But yeah.
Nice.
How much keep are you planning on making, Randy?
It would be nice to have at least like 15 bill.
Oh shit. I probably gotta save GPL.
Yeah, I gained a mill cooking XP during this. I was just making some wines, and then I started cooking some sharks over at the Myths Guild. So pretty AFK. Oh, and goals. Pretty much just slowly chip away at the Desert Treasure 2 bosses. Also go back to TOA for my Masori body and get a Torva body eventually. I'm missing the bodies. And I just want to reclaim best in slot gear. So kind of my goals right now. And I skill on the side. Any Sebe cast, I just slowly chip away at some really AFK skills.
Okay. Well, hey, Mayfield and Sebe, thanks guys for coming on as our guests on it in terms of future podcasts. Probably going to be planning on like looking at the questions that we have and like how the game's moving. Again, like it'll be like every 2 weeks or every month. I would certainly probably lean more towards every 2 weeks with the quantity of updates that be rolling out, and even the fact that we had to cancel more than a handful of questions here just for this podcast. So It's kind of imagine our next podcast that we're going to do. Going to be recording it on September 30th, 2023. And follow us on Twitter at Hexis, or Discord, discord.gg/Hexis. For information on the next podcast. You can submit topics for it as well. And, this will be uploaded onto YouTube, and then I'll broadcast it onto Twitch as well. And then it'll be available on Spotify and Apple. So thanks, guys, for tuning in for it. Hexis Podcasts are back. Fuck sailing, and we'll see ya on the next one.